want to start at the beginning, not at the end. All right, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So this is really kind of our nutrition 101, but we're going to talk about live food versus dead food. And I kind of love these pictures that I just found because obviously some of us have probably had our face straight down in our porridge, right? After we've consumed foods that we knew we probably should not have, and felt a little sick over it. So what is live food? Well, it's foods that are found in nature. There's foods that have not been processed in any way, that have no additives, they have no preservatives, they do not have colorings added to them, but they're also the foods that are not just natural, but they contain the natural enzymes and vitamins. The enzymes that are in foods actually tell our body it is a food that we can utilize. So that's really one of the main functions, at least for food for us, is to know, is it a food that our body can use or should we store it someplace else? So what is a dead food? Well, pretty much anything that doesn't have very much color or has way too much color that's vibrant that we don't see in nature. And if you really want to have, these comfort foods, we could call them, you could just chisel them out of some carrots. And that way you can, get your good foods in. But you are definitely what you eat. Your food becomes who you are. Everything you put in your mouth is going to make up your DNA. That food's DNA becomes your DNA. Your body will then have a react in the best way it can to survive with whatever foods you do give it. So do you really know what you're consuming in your foods? So let's talk a little bit about this word enriched. When we look at white flour, white rice, and white sugar, and we know it's highly processed because those things in nature are not white. They're actually brown. And so if we have them highly processed, if it is white, we know what they've done is they've actually bleached it. So there's no vitamins, no minerals left in there, which is why then they have to enrich it and add back some of the vitamins. So there was a disease called beriberi that was caused because of the lack of vitamin B1, and that only appeared when the Japanese population started to consume white rice. So we want to consume the brown rice, the whole wheats, that contain the natural vitamins and minerals that are actually found in nature. And you'll notice if you read a label and it says enriched, what it'll say afterwards is the B vitamins they're adding back in. But what about all the enzymes that they also took out at the same time? Isn't that also a problem? So are all fats bad? Definitely not. So trans fats are the bad fats. Those are the ones we have to watch out for. So how can we find them? Be a label reader. Okay, so let's look at one of these labels here, and we can see that we see dried potato, vegetable oil, and hydrogenated vegetable oil. So anything that says hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated, we know that that will actually kill our cells. If we look at the other one, it says enriched flour, and there we have, they're adding back vitamin B1, vitamin B2, and of course then we see the hydrogenated oils in there again, and the TBHQ, which nobody knows what that is. And then we have some high fructose corn syrup. So we can't say a lot of good things about that food, if we wanted to call it a food. It's been stripped away of anything that was like food. So what are some good fats? Well, personally, I use many different oils in my food preparation, but the first is extra virgin olive oil. And I find that it's the best monosaccharide fat because it works great for doing your salad dressing. However, you should not be cooking with olive oil because the chemical structure, when it hits heat, the olive oil actually is susceptible to oxidative damage. So when you cook with that, it's going to break down that food and it can be damaging to you. So you want it really, the best things to cook for are going to be coconut oil, avocado oil, even some of the nut oils are really good to use in your salads too. So kind of look into those because we have walnut oil, macadamia oil, cashew oil, so then we can kind of switch it up and get not only, different good oils into our system, but different flavors too, and kind of play with that. So, and unsaturated fats, which include the common vegetable oils like we saw on the last label, such as corn, soy, safflower, sunflower, and canola, are the worst oils to cook with because they will change their chemical structure and they will definitely not only damage but kill off our cells. So watch out that you're not eating those vegetable oils, be a label reader. So I wanted to just dive in a little bit about coconut oil because there's so many other benefits than just eating, but it also helps with heart health. It can help with weight loss if you need to lose weight. It can help with your immune system. It gives you a healthy metabolism, but it also has been known to increase energy and help with skin. So, you know, some people will put this on as lotion. So you can not only eat it, but put it on your skin at the same time. You know, we use it to make our sunscreen. It actually has a certain, I can't remember what it is. I think it's 3 to 5% SPF in there. It's just coconut oil. So then, of course, you can add other things to it to make it a higher if you need that. So it supports the healthy function of the thyroid gland. Of course, it will enhance the flavor of your foods. And some studies have even shown now that persons with memory issues, you take 3 tablespoons per day, the memory does improve. Very interesting, okay? Did you know that our early ancestors consumed less sugar in a whole year than we now consume in one day? Which is probably why sometimes we look like this little M&M man, okay, all strung up on our sugars. So why is added sugar bad? Well, if we have our added sugar in large amounts of sugar we consume, the pancreas produces more and more insulin. Remember when we talked a couple months ago, the insulin is the key that opens the cell doors and allows all the sugar from the bloodstream to go in to be used as energy. But once we have the filled up cell, then the cell has to close the doors. So at some point, then if we have more sugar that's still in the blood, but nowhere for them to go, that can lead to insulin resistance, which will eventually lead to type 2 diabetes. So this is kind of a gateway to creating another disease. So definitely, you know, watch your sugar intake, that we're not consuming added sugars. So is this food? Carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, caramel coloring, phosphorus acid, natural flavor. There's no food there. So can anybody guess what this is? You have to unmute yourself. It has the name on there if you don't really know. All right, so that's our soda, right? That's our cola. So it's our empty calories that we're taking in, but also a lot of extra sugar, okay? So anything that says this high fructose corn syrup, now they're changing this name because we had all the rage a few years ago. Now they're saying corn solids, okay? And they have a few other names too, so just watch out for that in your label reading. So we also talked a couple months ago about lectins, and some people had more questions on, you know, what they are, you know, what foods had them in. So if you have the ability, go ahead and take a snapshot of this. But corn, remember, is not a vegetable. It's actually a grain. Quinoa, it is a good thing, but we have to soak it and ferment it to decrease the toxicity in it, because these lectins are mimicking different sugars as well in our bodies. Once again, the lectins will be found in the vegetable oils, the corn, the soy, the sunflower, but also pesticides and omega-6s. We want omega-3s more than 6s, okay? Because then if we have omega-6s, we're increasing inflammation in our body. Beans and legumes also contain these lectins. However, if you can pressure cook them, then you can remove the majority of the lectins in their safety. Nightshades contain the most lectins in their seeds and the peel. Okay, so if we can at least get the seeds and the peel out, then we're going to have less of the lectins in there. Also, if we can take and pressure cook those foods as well, the potatoes, peppers, eggplants, tomatoes, then we can get more of the lectins out of those, so they are a little safer for us to consume. Vine-grown squashes, except for cucumbers, which cucumbers are just about to be harvested. I hear a few people telling me they're getting ready to come out now. Pumpkin, acorn, I know zucchini. People hate it when I say zucchini, but it does contain the lectins, and butternut squash does as well. So what are the dangers? Well, they attach to the sugar molecules and they get through the gut wall. And then that gets into the bloodstream and it creates an autoimmune response and inflammation. It's kind of like, I envision it like the Red Rover game. Okay, everybody's holding hands, and so nothing's supposed to go through there, right? Except for very small molecules, like your vitamins or minerals, those are, and water, that's supposed to go through. However, when we get this leaky gut, those hand holdings become weak. And so then what happens is big proteins go through. And if that happens, then we start to get bacteria and viruses that can start to now get through that leaky gut, and then it gets into our bloodstream. So that's the danger of having these lectins. It starts breaking that open. So when the particles get through the body's defense system, then the gut, the white blood cells, the fat cells, and all these inflammation, all of those things increase. The body starts to store fat when it's at war against the particles that get in through the bloodstream. And since it's in the intestines, then that's where we get the abdominal fat. If it continues, eventually the body will start attacking its own cell. And that's when we start to get the autoimmune diseases happening. So we have to stop eating this. Don't you love this crap? Okay? Carbonated drinks, refined sugars, artificial foods, processed foods. And now we add one more, the lectins. So what are the food groups? I'm going to have you guys tell me what the food groups are. You have to unmute yourself.
Grains.
Greens, yes, or veggies, right? Is definitely one of them. Anybody else have any other guesses? So we've got greens.
Hey, I finally realized I can unmute. How about meat and dairy?
Meat and dairy. So those are two now, the other ones, right? So now we've got three of them. Okay. So what else?
Would be
Grains with your bread, meat,
Grains.
dairy,
So we got dairy, greens,
fish,
meat,
something like that.
vegetable,
vegetables, and our fruits, right?
fruit, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to blow your mind here for just a moment. Go ahead and mute yourself.
Oh,
So fats and sweets. Now these are the old ones. Meats, dairy, fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans. Right? So this looks familiar? Okay. So this was our old food pyramid. And it told us how many of each things that we should have. So I started researching a little bit more, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense because this is not healthy. This is really, some of it's kind of backwards. So then I started looking at, traditional versus if we try to nutritionally improve it. And I thought, okay, this is a little bit better. We got our leafy greens, right? We got our nuts and our seeds. We got some legumes, vegetables and fruits are there, poultry. And then instead of having, our sugars and fats, they kind of took the fats out, which I was a little disappointed in because fat is every single one of your cells and your brain is made from nothing but fat. So I think we kind of need to have that in there. So then I found this other one. I thought, well, it's a little bit better from Australia. And I guess they do everything better. But we added fats to the very, very top. And then we see, mostly vegetables, okay, with a little bit of fruit. I like they added some water in there. And you got your grains, you still got your meat and your cheeses or your milk products, and then the healthy fats on top, and to limit the salt and obviously no added sugars. So I thought, well, that's a little bit better. Okay. And then I looked at this one, I thought, okay, this is almost perfect. So the paleo, now I'm not saying you should or should never do paleo diet. And back in the day, paleo was just you only ate, meat and vegetables and that was it. And they had to change it a little bit because some people did not do well on that at all. But if we look at this, you can see that we do have at the very bottom our fats. Super important that we eat the good fats in there. Avocado and olives. If you're hungry and it's not time to eat quite yet, have a handful of olives or some avocados. They really will hold you over because they're the good fats in there. Okay, and if you're a salty lover like me, the olives really kind of hold me over for that. Okay, then we have all of our vegetables, all of our greens in there as well. Okay, this is the one, the nightshades, though, that we have to remember, either we take that out or we have to change how we eat those food or prepare the food, I mean. Okay, so to be able to add those nightshades back in. And then I like that they're adding a lot of spices, herbs, and those types of things, because I think we forget about those, and they really can change change up our food flavors and give us more variety. All right. And one thing that we don't eat a lot now that we really should eat and we used to eat are organs. You know, back in the day with our ancestors, we consumed every part of that animal, and organs fed our organs, and that's how we repaired and regenerated. And we don't do that. You know, you might hear some people eating about liver, but you rarely hear them eating about kidneys or eating brains and things of that nature. And I don't know that I could particularly eat them either. Liver is about it for me. But then as we continue to go up, then we have our berries. And I like how they did this because they separated berries from the rest of the fruits. Berries are lower in glycemic index, so they're lower in sugars. So I've told people many moons now that if you're going to have fruits, try to stick with the berries as much as possible, you know, and just sparsely add in some other fruits. Okay. And then if we look over to where they talk about what we should be drinking and consuming, water is number one. Okay. We can also add in some other things here, you know, some green tea, some lemon juice, you know, wine or lime juice, either one, and some coconut milk or water as well. So I like this one the best. It's you know, not the best, but I think, you know, it's definitely a work in progress, and it's a much closer to what we should be consuming than what we had way back in the day. All right, so take a snapshot of that if you want, or go to keto.hu and get that for yourself. So typically we want to eat lean proteins like fish, chicken, lean beefs, eggs, nuts. Best if we can, of course, get free range so that we're not getting pesticides, herbicides, okay? And then we're also not getting more grains in our diet. We want them roaming around and feeding off of the land without these pesticides, herbicides, and of course also without being injected with hormones. So we're going to have 2 or 3 servings of those per day. I don't want to gross you out, but I need to talk about this meat slurry. So Wikipedia says meat slurry is reconstituted meat or emulsified meat that has been liquefied meat product that contains fewer fats, pigments, and less myoglobulin than unproduced dark meats. Meat slurry also eases the process of meat distribution, and it's more malleable than dark meats. Meat slurry is not designed to sell for general consumption. Rather, it is used as a meat supplement in the food products for humans' consumption, such as chicken nuggets, and food for domestic animals. Poultry is the most common meat slurry. However, beef and pork are also used. Gross, right? Okay, so this is stuff that they're actually taking all of the extra stuff, they're slurrying it all up, pulverizing it. I'm pretty sure they don't do it in a Vitamix, but some major form of Vitamix, right? And if they're feeding it not just to us, but they're also feeding it to animals. Okay, so now animals are eating themselves? No, that's not right. Okay, so definitely stay away from, you know, chicken nuggets if you don't know that if you're not making them yourselves out of real chicken, okay, that you know is that is fresh. Okay, so then we look at dairy. If you can have dairy, of course, 2 or 3 servings a day. Look for antibiotic and growth hormone free. Read the labels to be certain there's no added food colorings or unnatural additives or preservatives. So since milk is white, that means cheeses should be white. Okay, we shouldn't be adding other colors to them. So remember, if you're reading a label and you cannot pronounce it or you don't know what it is, don't consume it because your body won't know what it is either. So veggies and fruits, how many of you get 9 to 12 per day? Hit the little raise hand icon. So I counted mine up for yesterday and I got right at 9 in there. So, you know, I got to push it up a little bit to get to my 12. But Of course, there's many more than what I've listed here: spinach, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, all of our greens, tons and tons of greens, you know, carrots, beets, apples, bananas, grapes, and of course we want to look at the berries more so. So we might all have to bump that up a little bit because no one raised their hand on that one. So why should we choose organic? Because we don't want to put pesticides, herbicides in our body. We also don't want waxing coverings. If you've ever seen the apples and they're really beautiful, shiny red, they probably have pretty heavy wax coating on them. And they've probably been sitting for not just weeks, but months and maybe even a year before you got them, which is why they're so milly in texture. So, yeah.
Dr. Frisina,
Yeah.
going back to the previous slide, 9 to 12 per day. What does
You
that
got
mean?
it.
9 per 12 servings? And
Servings
what's a
per
serving
day.
size?
And
And
so
how
a
much
lot
is
of
a
times a serving is anywhere from half a cup to a full cup. So fruits are half a cup,
Okay.
vegetables a full cup.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking. So why should we choose the organic again? Because we want more nutritional value. Most of the organics means they've also been putting organic things back into the soil. So they're using compost, they're using, you know, organic manures and things of that nature. And they have more black soil. They rotate things around so that they're not getting the diseases into those fruits and vegetables. And so we also notice a big taste, right? The flavor is better, the texture is better. And if a bug's going to eat it, it's probably good for me to eat. If the bug's not eating it, why aren't they eating that? You know, what do they know that we don't know? Okay, so try to stick with as much organic as you can. There is a Dirty Dozen list. If you don't have it, you know, we can send one out to you, or you can look it up online as well. And they have the one for 2020. It is out now. All right, our grains. Grains aren't very colorful, you know, and our body really likes color when it comes to food. So we don't need to consume a lot of those, 2 or 3 per day. And each of those should never be more than the size of your fist. So, but sweet potatoes can be included into this, your beans, your wild rice, brown rice, whole wheat, or rice pastas, you know, depending upon if you're gluten-free or not. Rice cakes, oatmeal, but not the instant oatmeal. Okay, it's been processed differently. And remember, the oatmeal is not gluten-free unless it says it is. So you will have to read the labels for that as well. So my gift to all of you is that if you have not had your, there you go, for you, is that if you have not had your nutritional survey done yet, if you go to the website at frisinafamilywellness.com, and you go to like the new patient section, even though some of you are patients that are on here, if you go to the new patient section, then you'll scroll down or click on that and you'll go to nutrition. And there's like a 4-page survey there. But what that does is it allows me to look at it and tell you if there's some system in the body that needs a little bit of assistance nutritionally. Or if you want to keep track for a week of what you're eating every day, what goes in the mouth, whether it's water or a food, liquid or food, then you can bring that in. I can take a look at that, and we might just tweak 1 or 2 things, and it would make all the difference in the world for your body to be able to heal faster, for you to have more energy, maybe even boost your metabolism. All right, so if you haven't gone to the website, the other thing with this is that we now have downloaded last month. We did a seminar on the female hormones. That is on the website now, so you guys will be able to go back and take a look at it. And this one is also being recorded, and you'll be able to go back and look at that as well. If you have not already liked us on Facebook, then definitely go to Frisina Family Wellness, and you'll get all the up-to-date information that we're putting out there. And also, we're on Instagram, so you can go to frisina.family.wellness and get more information from us on that as well. Does anybody have any questions? Or did I do such a fabulous job? Any comments?
This was extreme. I mean, you've taught me a lot of this through the years, but it was great seeing this again and hearing it again and reminding me again. And thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth Ann. It's always a pleasure, and as you know, like I stated there, my purpose is really to just help as many families as I can. And we want to send more education out there. I think the more educated you are, the better you can make health decisions for not just yourself, but your friends, your family, everybody that you care about. And
Absolutely.
our bigger purpose.
Oh, and I wanted to let you know I have Lawson with me. He watched this with me too.
Excellent. Hello, Lawson. I'm glad you were able to make it on today.
Thank you.
Good to hear your voice. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end for the night. Everybody have a wonderful evening, and keep an eye out for the next one. I think next month we're actually having an art show. So we're going to probably postpone our Nutrition 202, which usually we do a cooking class, but we may pick that up in September. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll definitely be posting it on Instagram and on our Facebook. So have a great night, everyone. We'll see you later.
You too. Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was very informative. I was so glad you were able to
So what I was doing was take